Welcome to Power Circle Partnerships Live. This is a live experience where I will guide you through a step-by-step process in order to transform your current network into an active power circle of trust. And of course, this is session number 3 of 3. And when we go into the power circle definition in terms of what are the benefits, because I'm a why kind of guy. I need to understand why something is important before I take action on it. When you have a power circle, it results in a few tangible benefits in terms of momentum is a big aspect of success and introductions to new leads, partnerships, opportunities, which manifest in the form of contracts and clients. You will have access to a trusted network of business relationships and support. Most important aspect is the circle of trust. And so when you're vetting new people into your circle, you have people who are qualified and able to, let's say, help you with that process. And the key is leverage and unparalleled intelligence when you're assessing, let's say, new partners and opportunities. And some of the biggest time you'll waste without a power circle is going down a path with a particular partner or a particular friend or resource to realize that they are low value and or they are not ideal for what you are bringing to the table. So a few ground rules before we begin session 3. This is a pilot group, which means the testimonials and feedback is essential for this idea to reach its peak. Like I said, the initial idea was to package everything that is going on here, add a few additional features for continuity purposes and retail for $49.97. However, a new day has emerged and we're going to take, let's say, expand this into a mastermind concept where it will have a monthly support and some subscription-based income and arrive at the price point of $9,997. So your contribution in terms of your thoughts, honest thoughts, and how the content impacts you helps me to, let's say, develop this idea greater. And within this chat, ask any questions that you have about the content presented, and you have unlimited email support. Email me about anything. You will not get a thumbs up emoji. You will not get a good job. You will get tangible answers, case studies. I often go into my direct messages or my emails and give you the exact what has worked for me. So in the last session, we discussed the process and let's say the daily actions that you must perform in order to attract high value relationships. Now, from session 1, we went into a great deal of developing the big ideas and the importance of big ideas when you're communicating with high value, either influencers or simply people who are higher on the totem pole. This course, my life is not based on operating at your own level of averageness, wherever that may be. It's always to aspire to that next level, because the whole idea is if you knew everything that you needed to know in order to get where you needed to be, you'd already be there. So if you knew better, you do better. And so when you are able to operate with, let's say, a clearer path, or when the light bulb goes off, you start to, let's say, move into circles that are of greater, let's say, prestige. And I am a firm believer, there's millions of examples of this, that your success is directly linked and related to the basically getting into the favor of the gatekeeper. I travel a lot to different cities. And one of the social games that I play is find the gatekeeper. So I can go to any city in a day and find the most important people in the city, because all roads, if you think of Pareto's principle or 80-20, all influence goes through the path of, let's say, 4 or 5 people in any given town or city. I can go to your city and find that person. And so the question is, what is your relationship with the most important people in your area or within your industry or within your sphere of thought leadership? And let's say with any opportunities, we often look at, let's say, jobs as a common example, or contracts or projects, and we say, or speaking opportunities, and we say, I want that goal. But when you look at the reality of it, is that there's decisions that are made around that goal where you realize that if you are in close proximity to that particular person or that committee, and what is your relationship to that opportunity, you'll realize that there's always a greater game to, let's say, leverage in terms of people. So being introduced, let's say, the biggest difference is between I always like to use the analogy of waiting in line on a Friday night with your significant other at a busy nightclub versus being invited into VIP by the club owner. So when you have a power circle, when you are positioned, it allows you to skip the line. And the reality is that people who are in a position of power, people who are decision makers, always make concessions for their friends. That is how it works. And that's just human nature. You want to give opportunities to your friends, and you have to get into those good graces and that favor. So in last week's session, we also covered the power of affirmative statements. So when we look at affirmative statements, the examples that I've provided are replacing common words such as, let's say, maybe, or could, should, and would in your vocabulary with more affirmative statements such as I believe, I predict, I guarantee, and start to speak from a position of certainty. And people who are on a higher status, their ears light up when they hear certainty, because anyone who is ultra successful, they may not be right 20 years from now, but I always say that history, as time goes on, makes liars of us all. There are things that have happened 50 years ago that there's no way that it would happen today. So it's better to just be firm and be affirmative in the moment, because 20 years from now, we're all going to be wrong. So it's best to just put your best foot forward. So the people who you need to get in good graces with, whether in partnership, let's say context, or otherwise, when you're speaking to them, these are the keys to keep in mind. Self-deprecating language is poison to the ears of someone who is a high achiever. In self-deprecating language is, okay, Tanai tells me, I just released my Twitter consulting, and I went from X amount of dollars, and now I'm charging Y amount of dollars. And I say, oh, it must be nice. I was eating ramen noodles last week, and now you're getting rich on me. You don't forget us little people. And so someone, let's say, the next year version of Tanai would be like, no, I can't be around this. I'm worried that when I do break through, then I'll have that negative energy around me. So you have to be careful about your projecting your own insecurities and your own weaknesses and your own setbacks on other people, especially people who are, let's say, insulated by success. In session 1, we discussed, let's say, why do high achievers have yes men around them? And in 9 out of 10 cases, is not because they need someone around them who tells them what they want to hear. Is that when you're on a creator's path, when you are a full-time entrepreneur or creator, your ideas need to live in a incubation state so they need to be protected and nurtured in order to grow to their greatest potential. So you surround yourself with people who essentially help your ideas get to the next level. And the people who are unable to do so are weeded out with the quickness. So we also covered core values and the importance of communicating your core values. And just as a basic definition, as a recap, your core values are the fundamental beliefs of a person or an organization. They're the guiding principles which dictate behavior, and they also help people understand the moral compass for that individual in terms of when you understand the difference between what is quote unquote right and what is quote unquote wrong. So right and wrong have a different context. For example, in the military, in many cases, fighting is an acceptable form of conflict resolution. So in other areas, or in, let's say, and they tell veterans, for example, to take up to 1 year off when you get out of active duty, because if you go into, let's say, Office Depot and your coworker gets you upset, bopping them over the head is not the best way to solve the problem. So right and wrong in, let's say, Office Depot's core values is different than being on a Navy ship, believe me. So core values are very important. So when you're communicating your message and being clear about your message, being clear about your big ideas is ultra important, because I use the example a lot that if you throw 10 tennis balls at me, then I'm only going to be able to catch 2. And that's the way the human mind processes things. We first we get a picture of it, and then we start to connect people in terms of who we know or who we can picture with that given idea. So your core values help for people to understand exactly who you are in one sentence or less. So the example I gave in session 2 was with the Navy's core values, which were beaten into people. Like you literally have to learn these. So honor, courage, and commitment. The value of having core values is that, let's say in a military context, if you were raised in environments, so you were uncouth, you were just uncultured, you had no discipline whatsoever. When you were introduced to these core values, they provide you a framework by which you can now raise your standards and live by. So as a personal brand, or let's say as the owner of a brand, your core values provide an aspirational model for what your audience is to live up to. So if you are the ultra vegan health consciousness and your core values are, let's say, health, fitness, and lifestyle, then chances are when you're at a live event, people won't bring the bacon double cheeseburger around you. They will aspire to a higher ideal. And that's the value of having clarity of message. That's the value of simply being in alignment with your message and how that plays out via your communication. It also ties into, let's say, live events. For example, when I hold a live event, it could be on a weekend, and people generally dress up. Let's say if business casual, if casual sweatpants and weekend attire is what people normally wear on the weekends, people generally dress up a level higher simply because of the consistency of how I present myself and how I communicate with my audience. So if, let's say, there's many people, many entrepreneurs, this movement started with, let's say, Russell Simmons, who was one of the first people in, let's say, to dress down and just say, I will never wear a suit. And so let's say if you go to his event, then you possibly would say, okay, I don't need to do so. And I've spoken at conferences where it was that model was followed, where everyone is to be comfortable. Do not wear any ties, bow ties, blazers, anything. So there's different core values for each. So the exercise from the last session was to define your core values in one sentence or less. Now, let's say Tanai. Going back to last week, like, why are you picking on me? Can you share one of your core values from last week, or wing it? Wing it. It's okay.
One of my core values was integrity.
So how is that communicated? That's the whole point of this exercise, is not to say my core value is martial arts. It's like, how do you communicate that without saying my core value is integrity?
So I am committed to providing a high level of service, high level of value at all times that people can resonate with to enhance and increase their standing in life. You muted yourself.
Bonnie. Bonnie, are you there?
Yes. I am still working on mine.
Okay.
Mine was integrity as well, honesty, and of course, family.
Okay, so the exercise here, and thank you for that. The exercise here is to come up with a statement that communicate. Let's take family, for example. How do you communicate that family values are important without saying family values are important to me?
You asking anybody?
No, I'm asking Bonnie.
Okay.
That is the challenge. I think some of the words, I like the way Tanae interpreted integrity. I'm not sure how to frame those things that are near and dear to my heart, but they are my core values, and they resonate in all areas of my life.
Give me a horrible example, and we'll clean it up. Give me the worst example possible. Just give it a shot.
The worst example possible is that I would put my family 100% all the time before my business or anything, or most everything else.
Okay.
That comes to business, but it's for my family.
Okay. So let's take this example and dive a little bit deeper into it. So the way you can communicate this is that, let's say, core values, and politicians do this a lot. They do it a lot. Where that's one thing about Toastmasters. It ruins you in terms of watching speeches, and because now you know all the secrets. And let's say you can communicate your core values through your story. And you can say, well, I started this business. I'm building a legacy-based business. You know, Blue Spruce Promotions is a legacy-based business, of which my ultimate goal is to build an empire for that survives to change the trajectory of my children's children's children. So what people can imply from that statement is that, if Bonnie's building a business that is to last beyond her natural life and to be an asset for her children's children's children, maybe family is important to her. Or another way to say it is we are a small business that operates with family values. I think you should steal that one.
Yes, I like that one.
So the point being is that there's different ways that you will communicate your core values, and these are the let's say the between the lines that people pick up, between the lines that people resonate with. And if you, let's say, watch commercials and you just watch how different brands express, one may be corporate, one may be, let's say, Wendy's, for example. If you stare at the Wendy's logo, it actually subliminally has mom written, let's say, in the logo itself, because they want you to think of their burgers as, let's say, home cooked and like home cooking. So everything that they put forth is based on that objective. And Chris, give us an example based on what has been shared of one of your core values, as well as an example of how that core value can be communicated without you communicating that actual word. Okay, he's on mute. We'll come back to him. So as we go into this next section, there's a mindset shift that we must undergo because we're going in deeper into partnerships. And this is a major, major, major part of my life. Major, major part of my life. And so, again, this entire experience is reverse engineering. Why does this work? And put together actual structure to it. So the short-sighted person asks themselves, what can I do? And what are the limits to my individual effort? The short-sighted person says, I can only get this new idea, this new venture, this new course, this new platform to a certain level because this is the skills that I can utilize. I'm great at speaking, but I'm terrible at web design. I'm terrible at copywriting. I'm not good at sales. So this is as far as it can go. I'm going to do this all myself. The leverage person, in literally every multimillionaire I've ever met in my entire life, ask themselves, who is the best person that they can utilize in order to achieve their goals? The difference is phenomenal. And if you speak to me enough, I often tell the story of my friend Tom. Now, Tom is the richest caterer to ever come from Baltimore, Maryland, period, in the history. There's only two large venues that you go to get married at in Maryland, and he owns one of them. Been in business for 50 years, been an entrepreneur, and very workaholic. The key is that I've had the opportunity over the last year and a half to build a business with him. And so to be able to watch someone who has succeeded over and over and over and over and over again, has 123 employees, build something from scratch, is the most valuable field trip science project I've ever had the opportunity to witness. And every single time we start something new, change the way I look at things. It's always, like, who do I need to talk to about this? can we get this person on the phone? Who can we leverage? And his approach allows for things to get started much faster and on a larger scale. And there's one particular day where we're all in the office and he says, let's get Oprah on the phone. And half of the room laughs. Oprah, what do you mean get Oprah on the phone? And we found out later on that, he had no doubt about this, but we found out that his wife used to be Oprah's like fitness instructor back when she lived in this area. So when you think big and you utilize leverage and you build a power circle, there is literally no one who is unreachable. And when you start to utilize tools such as LinkedIn, or you start to connect with various social media platforms with the power circle partnerships method in mind, then you start to see that the world is a lot smaller than we initially thought. So we've all heard the theory of 6 degrees of separation, and you may have heard about the letter writing experiment where there was a letters that were written and went all around the world, and it was connected through 6 people. But I would, let's say, submit as my hypothesis that particular way of thinking is outdated simply due to social media. And now the world is literally 2 to 3 degrees of separation, and you can reach out to anyone. And anyone who, let's say, has a profile online becomes that much more attainable, able to connect with. So it's important to understand that leverage is the key to build your empire. If you're going to build anything, leaning on your own understanding is the fastest way to failure. 10 out of 10 times. So what I'm going to introduce you to is the idea of customer lifetime value and apply it to relationships. So CLV, or customer lifetime value, is one of the key metrics to building any business. And your customer lifetime value is the prediction of all value that a business will generate from their entire relationship with a customer. So when you look at the Amazons of the world, you look at the Apples of the world, what they are absolutely great at is taking a one-time customer or a prospect, transitioning them into a one-time customer, and through social proof and wraparound services, encouraging the buyer to buy those complementary services and upgrading through excellent, let's say, market research and product delivery to ensure that customer becomes part of the brand and ultimately becomes a champion or a promoter of the brand. When you go into an Apple store, and you go to Apple stores all around the country, they're all designed the same. It's the aisles are a little bit, let's say, compact. Everyone's running around to give you the feeling that you're in this place of innovation. So the moment you come into the door, you get a different feel. And anyone who's ever bought an iMac or their first iPhone, it's almost a boosted self-esteem as a result of purchasing those products. But as soon as you buy the iPhone, it's, oh, the screen's gonna crack, so I need a case. And I need this special headphones now, and I may need a standalone speaker. And so I need an iPad to go along with it. And so when you look at, let's say, customer lifetime value, that is of utmost importance to what we're going to discuss. And we also look at the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. You want to look at who are the 20% of your customers that are leading to the 80% of your revenue. And if you break down your customer base, there's always going to be those people out of the overall pie that are buying more than others. So by focusing your products and services on those particular customers, that allows you to generate more because you're going to the people who like you most. So when we talk about customer lifetime value in building businesses, this is one of the key metrics if you ever acquired or your business is ever acquired that an investor is going to look at. So now that we understand customer lifetime value, now I must introduce lifetime relationship value. And again, in our first, our first two sessions, we looked at, let's say, going into our text messages and starting to look at the 5-year aspirational model of our friendships. And so, again, by utilizing active listening and having people, let's say, share their vision with us, we can put them on a track of, okay, this is where they're going to be. We give them a nickname for that, and then you actively use your network in terms of introductions and referrals to literally help them become that exact example. So when you look at lifetime relationship value, it's time to look at ROE, which is return on energy. We often hear about ROI, return on investment, but what is the return on energy when you're dealing with the people within your circle? So it's time to quantify your relationships. And many of us have this, let's say, standoffish view when we think about our friends, our family, and quantifying. How are your friends and family helping you get to that particular next level? So again, let's go through this exercise tonight. Can you identify from a purely economic standpoint why someone, let's say, in your last 10 text messages would be a loser or a low value person?
Ooh. All right. So
How do you quantify this? We're just dollars and cents. How does this person, let's say, just get a person in your mind that is low value, or go to your phone, somebody may have said, hey, it's been a while since I've caught up with you, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. So the question is, how are you quantifying that? This is purely dollars, cents, sales, economics.
If somebody is asking me for something but hasn't offered to do anything in return.
Okay, so low reciprocity value. Let's add on to this, or I'll add one, then you add one. So if you have a course that's for sale, for example, is on the market, and that particular friend is in your industry and has the ability to be a complement through referral or whatever the case may be, and they are unwilling to do so, would that particular quality make that individual low value to you, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So when we start to look at, or can you just, all right, I'm about to put out this course. Can you retweet the course to your audience, to your followers, and they say no? Does that make them low value?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what we're starting to look at, because we often think that it's bad to look my friends. Listen, every multimillionaire that I know, that I'm friends with, that I can go to my phone, I can text them, they actually are going to say, come to my house. Every one of them that I know, they are the best at using people. We look at using people, let's say from the lens of brocosity, and that using people is often, let's say, energy vampire type of scenario where we're taking everything from them. But if you bring high energy people and high value people into your life, there's going to be complementary value, and there's going to be an increase of reciprocity. So it's important to understand that it's okay to use your friends and use your partners. And when we look at how when people don't succeed, it's because they don't ask for help, or they're afraid to reach out because they don't want to be, well, I don't want to ask for a favor because then I'm going to owe them. And that is low bank account thinking, is low bank account thoughts. And so it's important to understand to quantify why people are valued. Now, there's ROE in terms of, okay, and reciprocity is low, they're always asking, or someone shows up in your direct messages and they say, well, I haven't bought anything from you, but I like to ask you these 20 questions about everything that you already offer on your blog. And can you help me? But I'm not going to invest in you. I'm not going to share your work, so on and so forth. But as you move forward into a big area that we're going to discuss, which is the joint venture partnership, being able to pick this out and quantify your friends is of utmost important. So, Chris, from a dollar standpoint, dollars, cents, economics, how do you quantify the people that you spend the time around?
I would say, me personally, I have to really diagnose what it is that they are willing to invest in me, because everybody that I come in contact with, I want to make sure I invest in them in some type of way, whether it's providing you with some type of tools, resource, connecting you with somebody else, something, anything. I want to make sure that I'm bringing value to your life. That's man, woman, old, young, it doesn't matter. So I look at all the people in my life the same way. If you aren't contributing, then I'm at the point now where I kind of have to, I won't say immediately cut you off, but you definitely don't receive a lot of my time. A lot of those random DMs on Twitter, just people send me paragraphs and paragraphs of stuff. And I used to answer. At this point, I just don't answer. Or sometimes what I do is I'll let them know. If you have serious questions, you can use this link to set up a call. We can hop on the phone. Or you can join Greatness Unlimited, which is our entrepreneurship platform. That's the only two options for you. That's it. Other than that, I don't have nothing for you.
Let me say this. There's a few good points in there, and thank you for sharing. Number one is that its value has become easier. When you watch the replays of this, just utilizing your network as an asset to essentially be a point guard and assist the people who come into your life and make introductions and referrals. Introductions being, let's say, complementary value based on active listening, based on what is going on in the conversation. In session one, we discussed the aspirational model. So one thing that always used to happen, I mentioned when I was a kid, I had this gift of being able to see the future in people. The future version of a person is always right next to them. So when I speak to people, especially if I care about them, I'm often in my younger years was very harsh, because if they make a decision, I can see the future right there. So when it comes to people come into your life, you have to project where they're going. And this is very important to maximize your time, is to look at, okay, where is this person going to be in 5 years? And if you find them valuable, to invest in them. And this is the second point, is that you have to become ruthless with your energy, and cutting people off needs to become a national pastime. You have to enjoy cutting people off, because if they do not support your growth, then you need to let them go, and you need to celebrate it and just say, hey, we're going in different directions. I wish you the best, but I'm going to love you from across the street, and good luck to you. And there's nothing wrong. I've seen ultra successful people are so cutthroat in that if it's for them, it's all the way for them. If it's not for them, then they're all the way out. And we have to get away from this mindset of, I'm going to be nice for nice sake. If someone is for you 100%, then you give them your all. If they're not, then you starve, you give them the gift of watching your progress from the nosebleed seats. They don't get the front row, they don't get the VIP. And when you're operating at a certain level, your time is you by giving people a conversation, you are giving them VIP access to your thoughts. Think about this. Hit the collection plate. However, not every client is a good client. And if someone, let's say, is showing all the tendencies of loser and low value behavior, then it's best to send them somewhere else. Because if you do hit the collection plate, and let's say they pay your rate, because they have a disconnect in terms of their expectations of the world, what happens is when you give and give and give, even if they pay for it, they won't appreciate it because they don't understand, let's say, reciprocity. And a client service provider relationship is a reciprocal relationship. If you're my client and I'm giving to you, you're building this empire in the world, and then you're giving back to me either through testimonials or referrals, or hey, if my name comes up in the world, then you say, that's a good guy, you should work with him. So it's always this reciprocal relationship. So all money is not good money. And that's important to know. Even if it's a lot of money. It's there's the lady who I've made the most amount of money with consulting. What I used to think I thought she was out of her mind, because I watched her turn down 7-figure deals because it did not feel right, or members of her team were mistreated on certain projects. And I'm like, Sharon, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Do you realize, like, put that to the side. It's okay. You think about it later. Cry in the champagne. Like, you don't have to. But I watched her do this. Oh, I did not understand it at the time, but now I do, where all money is not good money. So when we go into, let's say, quantifying our friendships, quantifying our partnerships, we go into, let's say, how is this managed? And customer relationship management and or CRM systems, since this is going more into platforms, is very important. If you're going to have partnerships, if you're going to get out here and build power circles, I'm a big believer, and this mindset has changed my life. And the approach is essentially put your friends in your CRM and start to quantify your relationships in terms of what you're giving, what's being received. Don't 100% keep score, but start to think about, have you ever considered, let's say, what makes your best friend your best friend? Like, what were the steps for that to happen? It probably not like the most groundbreaking things. You grew up in the same area and hung out a few times, but in reverse engineering that, again, in order to succeed, you have to get into the good graces of people who are higher on the total pole than you. So in order for that to happen, you have to form genuine relationships with winners. So how do you build that rapport from just an introduction or meeting someone at a networking event or at a conference? That's the question, that the answer of the homework that you have to develop. And customer relationship management and the art of the follow-up is very important with this particular area. So let me see here. I'm going to take you into one of my favorite tools. Let's see. And this is a free tool, and these are just ideas that you can leverage, but you better believe they work for me. So I'm going to share a few platforms. Again, these are things that you've seen before, but it's not what it is, it's how you use it. So let me see here. I'm about to share my screen. Give me a second. Okay. Going into share screen. There we go. If you can see my screen, give me a thumbs up, please. All right, so where we are is in HubSpot CRM. Again, got to get, if this is something that building power circle relationships is something that is serious to you, again, you will be able to sell courses, you will be able to have speaking engagements, but in order to deliver 6 and 7 and 8 figure results, specifically 6 and 7 figures, partnerships are the fastest ways to achieve this. So what we are is a CRM system, just as a general overview, provides you a systematic way to manage your relationships, and specifically the pipeline between prospect into lifetime customer. There is no lifetime customer that has ever existed by just winging it. You have to have a predictable process in order to bring people through that pipeline. So if you look at Amazon and Apple, they are the two best examples. So what we have here is at the top, and HubSpot CRM is a 100% free service. So this can be set up and basically have things up and running. So let's say in Tanai's case, you have a number of courses. And so you can have your deals here. So these are all the different contracts, the different deals that exist, and you can bring partners into this. So let's say if you're going to release a course, you should never release a course without joint venture partners. So managing those relationships can turn into a hassle. What's this person's schedule? What's this person's preference? So what I like to do is whenever I come into contact with someone of interest, let's see here, it's loading. I add them into my CRM system. So there's a few fields that I want to bring to your attention that tie into, let's say, Power Circle partnerships as a whole. So I'm going to create a contact. Okay. All right. And so there's a couple custom fields that I use all the time. So my launch promotional partner type. So these are all so greater good promotion is if I'm working with somebody who can't necessarily do something for me right away, but I like their style. I like what they bring to the table. So I'm doing something for them for the greater good. So it could be retweet their post. It could be do a video for them. I know that somewhere down the line, this is going to come up. There's another metric that I use, which is called swap for swap. And this is done a lot in the entertainment industry. This is actually where I got it from. Favor for a favor. So you promote my course, I'll promote yours, or you show up on my podcast, I'll show up on yours. So trade for trade. Online summit, I have various partners who, of course, have online summits. So they're the people that I want to keep on the radar because whenever they have a summit coming up, they generate lots of social media traffic, so on and so forth. So it's good to understand when their launch calendars are. Full launch support, like right now, I have Miss Alina Vincent and her, let's say, Facebook challenges support. So she's doing a full launch. She has about 25 joint venture partners. She's going to do a 6-figure launch. And so she provides the full copy for marketing to your list. And so with those full launches, you have to put those on your calendar because you have to give your all to it. So there's also just content affiliate. And so that may be interviewing somebody and just having the affiliate link for their course. Favorite beverage weapon of choice. So now this is my CRM system. So when I meet people, I find out one way or the other what they like to drink. So again, when you're dealing with people who are higher on the totem pole, gifts are magical because it shows that you are going above and beyond. So excellent coffee beans, amazing red wine, white wine, beer aficionado, energy drink aficionado. So I make sure I check that off. And these are things that, let's say, I don't always have to do. If, let's say, I'll have my assistant go out and look at all the top, let's say, coffee beans in a given area, and I'll order it online and have my assistant send it to the person. And again, when it's birthday time or they post something on Facebook or Twitter, they hit a milestone. I have 1 million followers. Okay, let me send over the coffee beans and celebrate. So these things keep you top of mind, and also adventures. So I find out what they like to do, what their idea of an experience is. So dinner with friends at a trendy hotspot, unplugged excursion. I got a friend who, I have a friend of mine who is a specialist at taking people out in the woods and doing like survival tours and stuff like that. So if I need to, let's say, catch a big fish or really like lock in a partnership, I'm going to call him up and say, hey, let's put together an excursion. I'm going to bring Jim or Susan and we're going to do an excursion. And sometimes when somebody is super busy, super important, getting them off the grid or outside their regular routine bonds you to them in ways that it would take months to explain as far as the value of this. Roundtable discussion with elite thought leaders. At a conference last year in, where we at? Phoenix. We had this great roundtable discussion of legends, and I was at the table, and the value that was given at this table connected all of us for years to come. So I started to think, whenever I go to a conference now, I'll put the word out and host like a private roundtable at the event and invite key people that have alignment and value to set up partnerships. And I'm also very well known for congregating at fire pits at conferences. So there's a few people that if I see them at the event, fire pit is 7:30. And so these are great ways to lock in partnerships. Am I losing anybody here with this CRM walkthrough? Am I losing anybody? All right, does everyone see the value of why keeping this information would be valuable? And of course, wedding anniversary. You definitely want to, let's say, getting good with the Mr. or the Mrs. So significant other is part of building good partnerships. You don't just want to be a person who is 100% about the work. You want to be a person who is about family, about the people and vehicles in a person's life that is near and dear to them. So every person in this list has those particular preferences assigned to them. So let's see here. You can also, with your courses, you can put all your courses into the system and manage, let's say, who your partners are with this and where they are. So this particular is still open. There's appointments still from March that I got to close. That's terrible. Needs to be updated. Don't judge me. But the fact that I can see it and that it's there is the biggest, let's say, of importance. So if you're looking to build your business to 6 and 7 figures, again, all the talent in the world will only get you so far. It's when you start to utilize leverage and systems is where the rubber starts to meet the road. So currently there's 64 contracts, and these are all for courses. These are all for coaching. So it's quantifying by the numbers what in a system, what is actually going on, and assigning those resources as far as who are my partners so that I can communicate it and I can predict what my earnings are going to be because of that. Okay, so I'm going to move on from that and go into the very next point. In that, does anyone have any questions about why a CRM would be important? Customer relationship management system. Okay, so that was HubSpot CRM. There's others that are, let's say, Full Contact is another great one where it plugs directly into Gmail and gives you that, let's say, ability within Gmail to add records to people and different notes on calls. You should be connecting with people every single day, as we discussed in sessions 1 and 2. And that's important. So I'm going to go into the basics of joint venture partnerships, followed by a walkthrough of a couple other tools. But joint venture partnerships are the fastest and highest leverage way to build a fortune. It involves the coordinated launch or release of a product with a group of partners. Now, the benefits of JV partnerships are warm referrals. So if I'm using if I have a product and Tanai shares it with his list, Bonnie shares it with her list, it's a warmer introduction. So I'm leveraging your credibility, which is a form of social proof. You're saying, I support this product, I support this service. So it's almost as if I'm part of your overall tribe or family. And when we talk about ad spend and advertising overall, it casts a wider net. So without needing to spend a bunch on Facebook ads or Twitter ads or YouTube ads, so on and so forth. Now, question is, are affiliate partnerships JV partnerships? The answer to that is that affiliate commissions are an outcome of JV partnerships. The relationship itself is the prize. So the whole idea with JV partnerships is to build ongoing relationships. So there's partnerships I have where it doesn't matter what the product is so much, it's the bond that has been built. And like, okay, I'm doing this promotion in a month, and will you be on board? And if availability is there, of course. And so when you have, let's say, affiliate partnerships, they're not always as defined. You're just sharing the product. But with, let's say, a deeper partnership, you learn more about the person so you can be more creative with your partnerships. You can do interviews. You can go to the person's house and film a day in the life. And when you have that level of access, especially between two high-level people, it allows you to generate more sales because it doesn't look forced. So if you look on Twitter, there's a lot of people who sell the same old courses. But if you take it a step further and say, let's say, do an interview, like in Tanai's case, all I have to do is switch the affiliate link to whatever you're promoting each and every time, because we have an hour-long conversation. So when they go to that hour-long conversation, the people who click on that video are more likely to buy anything that you sell because they have a deeper understanding of why you do it versus what you're doing it for. So, of course, understanding, let's say, if it's a pain point or something that's keeping somebody up at night is one factor of sales, of course. But there's also the factor of the lifetime customer value, where anything that Tanai sells, I'm going to buy because he's the guy. And that's what you always want to be in the eyes of your customers. So question is, should I pay for joint venture partnerships? No, you should not pay to do a joint venture partnership with someone who's more important. Never pay for it. However, you should definitely, or I recommend that you pay to join joint venture communities where people come together to make deals. So jvology.com is the #1 value-driven joint venture community in the world. They are friends of mine, and they have the Joint Venture Summit up in Canada. They also have one in, Phoenix. And these are invite-only events where people get together and make deals. So I have this course, and it's done 6 figures in sales. It has this opt-in rate. And that's how people normally talk at these events. But when you go beyond that and you sit down and actually, it's activity driven. So you do a bunch of activities together. It may be a panic room, it may be a wine tour, so that you get to know the people, and then you can discuss whether or not a deal makes sense. And when you start to move away from transactional partnerships, that's when the magic really starts. So going back into, so that is the joint venture partnerships in a nutshell. So going back to tools to wrap things up. Your calendar is a verb. Your calendar is a verb. You need to calendarize your life and live by your calendar, and your calendar is your calculator. And your phone is outgoing only. Stop answering the phone for everyone. Stop it. utilize a scheduling app to maximize your time and to make sure that your time is most valuable. Because what happens is when you're working on things and you're building partnerships and you answer a call that's out of the blue, because if you follow the steps within Power Circle Partnership, you're going to be making at least 5 calls a day or sending up to 15 DMs or messages a day. So somewhere between 5 calls and a total of 15 messages each day. When someone calls you, first of all, you have to stop what you're doing, address whatever unexpected dilemmas they have, and then get back on your path of whatever it is you're doing. So the productivity that's lost from that is not valuable for you. And I may have told this story before about a gentleman, one of the top 10 marketers in the world, is a friend of mine. And his voicemail literally says, I'm working on, building my empire right now. This call is not high priority to me, and you need to get on my calendar. I only answer the phone for calls on my calendar. And if you look at the results, he just recently relinquished his company to his vice president, and him and his wife are just traveling the world. I watched that man make 6 figures in half a day. So he's absolute, but ruthless with his time, ruthless. And so stop answering the phone for everyone. Utilize a scheduling app. Your direct messages, your DMs are also a verb. You need to be active in your DMs every day. If you are spending the time retweeting, spending the time commenting on posts, you need to reach out to people and say, hey, I'd like to learn. I've said this over and over. I'd like to learn more about your mission and see where I can make some introductions and referrals to my network, and also see where there's complementary value. So with that being said, let me go over to, and you may already know about this, but I'm just sharing with you how it works inside my scenario. Let's see. Ever know? This looks about right. Sharing my screen again. Okay, really quickly, going to Calendly. I like Calendly because it's the lowest cost solution that solves a major problem. You need a scheduling app if you're going to build a power circle. Gone are the days where you have to say, well, I'm free at 2 and 4. When are you free? Oh no, I'm actually at lunch at 2. So call me at 5. And no, do you mean East Coast or Pacific Standard? So Calendly allows you to share one link, and that link has your updated calendar, and it syncs with either your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, any your iCal or iPhone calendar as well. So it allows for you to be much more efficient and professional. So what people don't often realize with tools such as this is that you can have different calendars. So these are all my calendars that I use. And so there's one for, let's say, a nonprofit I volunteer for. There's one for each month I have a planning session, and this is a paid calendar. So if you're doing consulting calls, you can manage everything from here. This is one for my speakers to confirm their slots. So again, this is for an award show that I'm covering in Canada. So everyone can book their sessions here. revenue calls, which is one of my most popular calls. This is for my work with SCORE. So again, you can go, the point being is that you can customize each calendar link and have different things going on so that you fully have control of your time. Now, anyone have any questions about Calendly? So there's other tools that also do the same thing, but your calendar is a verb. Try to eliminate as much, this is my actual calendar, and eliminate as much white space as possible by getting on the phone and having critical discussions and partnership calls with people and getting into that mindset and that mind frame so that you're creating energy and effort each and every day that you're working. So, with that being said, this wraps up the platform session of Power Circle Partnerships. We've covered people, we've covered the process, and we've covered some platforms that will help you go from, again, building a stagnant network of people. I haven't seen you in years, and I have no idea what I'm doing at this networking event. No one here is, everyone is just taking and talking about themselves. To building an active power circle of people who are who are high value, who bring things to the table, who you're able to form partnerships with, generate revenue, generate leads, introductions, you name it. And that's all through the power of utilizing active listening and looking at every conversation as a gateway to greater opportunity. So you have unlimited email support. I will be delivering future iterations of this class, as well as the follow-up blueprint, which is dedicated to the art of follow-up email marketing to transition one-time prospects into lifetime customers, and PBA, which is a Personal Branding Academy. And so all of the sessions are delivered in this format, 3 75-minute sessions. I love this format because it allows me to vet my ideas each and every time I do a session, and it makes me smarter. So, and I get to see the feedback in real time. Are there any key takeaways from this session that anyone would like to share? We'll start with you, Tanai.
I think the tools are really good. It actually made me think about like the calendar that's associated with my website. I have like my consulting services out there, but I didn't even really think to use the calendar as like, hey, you're free at this time. Like, yeah, no, just, I got this link. You know, go to this link, just schedule a time with me, and it'll come to my phone. I think that's really, I think that's really good. It's a good way to. It's a very low risk way of doing things, and it's just like it's super convenient. Like you're always trying to like find a time to link up with somebody. And it's just like, no, just hit my calendar. You know, it's my calendar. Just pick a time, and we're good. You know, and then so it automatically syncs to my Google Calendar, and I'm just like, why am I not using this? This is so great.
So if you're doing, let's say, if you're teaching a class, if you just block off that time, and it doesn't show up on theirs, and it just, here's my calendar link. Pick the time that is best for your schedule. That is the best thing you can say to anybody important. And absolutely, when it comes to your website and your contact form, you utilizing that Calendly link solves everything. Solves everything. So yes, definitely use that. Let me see. Bonnie, what is your key takeaway if you have one? Do you have one?
Can you hear me okay?
I can now.
Okay. No, I think the takeaway is great. And when you say the way that you present it and the words that you use always sound so much nicer. For me, I think hearing it today, talking about the value of Calendly, I get it a little bit more. I understand it when I'm scheduling, but for me to ask someone or send someone a link for them to do it, it's almost like I'm imposing on them. But I like the way that you word it to say when it's convenient for you, so that still allows them to choose the time, and it's not imposing on them.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, so on behalf of Power Circle Partnerships, I'm Shadi Glazer. Make sure you utilize unlimited email support. If you have any questions about, let's say, Power Circle Partnerships in the art of relationship building for fun and profit. Thank you so much, and tune in for future courses and masterclasses of this type.